Hey guys, it's Jay here again from Arts, and bringing you 3 more therapeutic stories today. Appreciate you guys watching and listening. The first one is going to be called The Hungry Porcupine. The details to these therapeutic stories and more are on the website. I also have a link for the book that these come from in the description. So here we go. First one, The Hungry Porcupine. Once upon a time, far, far down in the woods, there lived many different kinds of animals. There were raccoons, possums, wildcats, and bears, and skunks and porcupines. When spring came and began to turn into summer, each of these types of animals had babies. Now, nature generally gives an animal the wisdom to care for its babies in a way that will help them grow in just the right way. But of all things, the porcupine had not been given the wisdom it needed to take care of her babies. So when the babies were born, the porcupine did not understand that she needed to cut the sacks to let the babies out. She just made a lot of noise and even rolled over onto the babies. This was a lucky accident because the quills of the porcupine actually stuck the sacks and broke them so the babies could find a way to get out by themselves. When porcupines are with their children, they are supposed to keep their quills flat, but this porcupine mother didn't understand that that was her role, and so she left her sharp quill sticking straight out, just as if she was ready to do battle with a wild pig. Porcupine quills are very sharp, much like needles, and if you get stuck with one, you will find that they really hurt. And so, when this mother's babies tried to get close to her to get milk, they got stuck. As the babies grew, they had to make a very difficult decision. Should they drink milk and get stuck, or stay away and get hungry? Quite a double bind. As you might guess, the babies did not grow as fast as they would have if they had been able to have enough milk. The little porcupines also had sores all over their bodies because they were constantly running into the sharp quills of their mother. They came to believe that was the way that all porcupines were raised, and they weren't too happy about being porcupines at all. One day, one of the little porcupines wandered out into the woods alone. He was tired of being stuck with the porcupine quills, and he was tired of being hungry and not being filled. He was angry and hurt and really didn't know which direction to go. He knew he had to find another way to get milk, or he would surely starve to death, or at least have a very difficult life. As he was walking, he happened upon a raccoon and her babies, but the raccoon ignored him, and so he went on down the path. As he walked deeper into the woods, he came upon a wildcat. This wildcat was a mother who had babies, but this cat understood how to take care of her babies and feed them and nurture them. This little porcupine was very hungry by this time, but he was still afraid of the wildcat. He stuck his quills out in anger, thinking he might scare the wildcat into giving him some food. This could have been a very foolish move, but this wildcat was an unusual one indeed. She had been raised by humans and finally sent back into the wild so that she could live in a natural way. She spoke a language that the porcupine could understand and said to the little animal whose quills were sticking up like spikes, "You will never get what you need and want if you keep those porcupine quills out and try to stick all those around you." The porcupine wasn't too sure about this, and he forced himself to make the quills even bigger and sharper. He even tried growling at this wildcat, but this wildcat understood what was happening, and he said once more, "It is important that you learn who to trust, because you'll never get what you want and need as long as those porcupine quills are sticking straight out with those who can actually help you. You need to lay them flat against your body and trust, and in that way you will get the nourishment that you need. All the nourishment that you need." Still, the porcupine had doubts. He wasn't too sure that the wildcat wouldn't wait until he relaxed and then attack. Soon, though, he became so hungry and tired that he knew he could wait no longer. He took a chance and he laid his quills back against his body, making himself defenseless. The mother wildcat, seeing this, invited him to eat with her cubs and to take all the milk that he needed. How good it tasted! The little porcupine drank his fill, and then he slept for a while. As pleasant as it was, the little porcupine worried about the situation. He loved his mother, the porcupine, but he knew he would never get enough milk if he stayed with her all the time, unless he kept his quills up with his mother and got less milk. He understood that she might really hurt him. He and the wildcat talked it over and decided that he would come back whenever he needed to, and she would feed him and give him everything he needed. And so he spent some of his time with his mother and brothers and sisters, and some of the time with the wildcat, who understood him. And with the wildcat, he found love and understanding and nurturing, all the things that he needed to grow to be healthy and a well-adjusted porcupine. He had learned something very special from the wildcat. He learned that his sharp quills were very necessary for protection when other animals wanted to hurt him, and it was useful to put them up whenever he was in danger, but to keep his quills up all the time was only pushing away what he needed. He learned to understand that he wasn't under attack from everyone and everything, so he could know when it was safe to lay the quills flat on his body, so that he could get close to those who would safely nurture him. And so the little porcupine grew up and went through life knowing how to handle his quills, and knowing how to get what he needed, how to find love, and how to have lots of friends. The other animals often talked about how different that little porcupine was from his family, especially whenever he purred like a cat. It's got a good ending, that story. The next one I'm going to read is called, make sure I got it here, The Big War. Once there was a little girl who, whenever she made a mistake, hit herself over the head with a hammer. Now this was very painful, and it would leave ugly marks on her, so when she went to school, people asked, "What happened to you?" And she would reply, "I hit myself over the head with a hammer." They would ask, "Why?" But she didn't know why. Sometimes she would hit herself in school. She would sit at her desk, make a mistake on a math test, and then she would hit herself over the head with a hammer. Or she would be really angry about doing something she thought she wasn't supposed to do, and again she would get out that hammer. She was most unforgiving of herself when she thought she had done something wrong, because she had decided that kids should never ever make mistakes. They should always be perfect, especially her. And she also believed that she couldn't like herself if she did make mistakes. Whenever she did things people told her not to do, and she knew that she shouldn't do, she'd hit herself over the head with a hammer. She didn't realize that all kids do things they're not supposed to do. That's part of growing and learning. She also did other things to hurt herself. She would tease her brother until her brother would knock her lights out. Once she lost teeth when she did that, and she even got her nose broken. She began to look like a real mess, so finally she decided, "I've got to do something about this." So she called the child abuse hotline, and she said, "I'm being hit over the head with a hammer." The worker asked, "Oh my gosh, who did it?" "I did it to myself," she replied. The worker said, "Now let's get this straight. You're turning yourself in for abuse?" And the girl answered, "Yes, because I'm tired of hitting myself over the head with a hammer." The worker told the girl that this was a very complex problem, so they would send a special person to talk to her that understood this problem with hammers. And very quickly a warm and understanding social worker arrived. She sat down with the girl and said, "Wow, let me see those bruises." So she showed her a bruise here and a bruise there, her broken teeth, a broken nose, and the worker observed, "You look like you've been in a war." The girl thought about what the social worker said for a minute and then replied, "I think I have. I think I've been in a war with myself. Every time I make a mistake, I get angry at myself and I hit myself over the head with a hammer. And I do the same thing every time I get a feeling of being sad and I don't tell anybody. Sometimes, even though I know that my brother can beat me up if I pick on him, I pick on him anyway, and he beats me up. I'm beginning to be very tired of waking up in the morning with my face hurting." The worker sat quietly for a minute and then replied, "I believe you're hurting yourself because you don't understand mistakes. You believe that good people don't make mistakes, and that good people don't talk about feelings, and that good people don't ever get angry. Obviously, you've learned to believe ideas that really are a mistake, like learning 2 plus 2 is 5. You have learned an incorrect belief. So you've got to unlearn it. You've got to see the truth. Everybody makes mistakes, especially kids. And feelings are normal. So it's helpful to let people know when you're angry or jealous or hurt or have any other feelings that you need to talk about. And the most important lesson I can teach you is it is important to forgive yourself for making mistakes. The girl thought about this for a minute, then replied, "That's nice to say, but how do I really change what I believe? How can I think differently?" "You can change the way you think and the way you accept yourself," the worker replied. "You can learn to correct and change your thoughts when you get to feeling that mistakes are bad, and you learn that liking yourself is important, and that mistakes should not be related at all to liking yourself." The girl wanted very much to stop hurting herself, so she listened to the social worker and she changed the way she thought. It was hard at first. Thoughts can be sneaky things to try to and tricky to catch. But the girl was both clever and patient, and so pretty soon she could catch those hurtful thoughts just like that. She also practiced new thoughts. And when she did, she felt happy with herself, so that when she got angry, she didn't hit herself on the head with a hammer anymore. She told people that she was angry. And when she felt sad, she let people know that she was sad. And when she made mistakes, she forgave herself. She said to herself many times, "Everybody makes mistakes, that's okay." And when she behaved in ways that she didn't like, she told herself, "Well, that's a good lesson. I'm not going to do that again, but everybody makes mistakes. That's part of growing and learning." And in no time at all, she became the happiest kid around. As time passed, she felt better and better because she learned more and more about liking herself. It was really something to behold, because the kid who used to have bruises all over her head and a broken nose and broken teeth even stopped picking on her brother. Because she had changed so much, from that time on, every time she saw a hammer, it reminded her that it was perfectly normal to make mistakes. And she kept a hammer in her room to help her remember to be easier on herself and to remind her that not liking yourself is the biggest mistake of all. Well, that one went quite a while. And I'm back. Sorry about that. Anyway, our last story is going to be the alien, and you can see in the background a little bit of art related to this story. I like it. I've used it with a lot of kids for a lot of different stuff. Once upon a time, there lived an alien. Now, to be an alien means that you are from another place and that you're really not someone who belongs to where you are now. It may mean that you look different and weird and that everybody thinks that you should go back to where you came from. This alien had a lot of these problems. Because she was an alien here on Earth and she walked down the street, people would yell at her, "Hey, look at that alien." And then the people would run because they were afraid that maybe she was mean and evil. When she tried to make friends, people looked at her like she was weird because they weren't quite sure that she wasn't an evil alien who might hurt them. When she tried to model others and be appropriate, no one even would give her a chance. She really didn't know how to get to a place where she wouldn't be an alien, so she decided that she was stuck on Earth. This alien was very lonely and very sad because she didn't know any other aliens that could be her friends. The alien went to the library numerous times because that's where she thought she could find out if there were other aliens, but to her distress, she could not find answers to her questions. Where did I come from? Why am I different? What can I do to be accepted? The alien became obsessed with these questions, and she found herself unable to be happy. It didn't make her happy to try to make friends because everybody rejected her. When she tried to learn new ways to act, people gave her a hard time because she looked so different. One day she decided to go to the library and she found a book about magic, which told about secret spells, potions, and formulas. This book had been on the back shelf and no one had looked at it for many, many years. The alien checked the book out, took it home, and began to read it. It had formulas to change yourself from one thing to another, to get from one space to another space. The alien decided that if she wanted to stay on Earth and be happy, she would have to no longer be an alien. To do this, she realized she would have to change both on the inside and outside, or she would never be happy. The alien found a special potion in the magic book, and she thought it would work for her. The ingredients were really weird. Cocoon shells, four-leaf clovers, wolf whiskers, toad eggs, and other things that took a lot of searching to find, but she was determined, so she got all the ingredients and sat down one night to mix it up. She mixed, and the potion smelled really funny. But she decided that she would drink it anyway, and as soon as she swallowed the formula, she felt an incredible change go through her body. She began to feel like a regular human being. Cautiously, she looked in the mirror. She wasn't an alien anymore. She had found the formula she needed to change from an alien into a human being, and she even liked the way that she looked. She quickly went outside and walked along the street. When people spoke to her and said, "Hello," she said, "Hello," right back. She wasn't used to people being friendly with her, and it gave her a great feeling of joy. Then she sat down in a park and she began to talk to people. She found to her surprise that she was also different inside, that she knew how to make friends and she knew how to talk to people about things that were meaningful. She even found that within herself she had changed to a human being who liked herself. She felt so very special and so very proud of herself for having found the secret formula to change from an alien into a human, that she went out that very day and bought herself a special present. From that time on, she found that every day she felt better and better about herself, and more like a warm, caring human being. Her life improved with each passing day. She found that all her depression was gone, all her sadness disappeared, and she no longer even had feelings of wanting to be an alien anymore. She kept the secret formula in a very special place because she knew that if she ever met anyone else who was an alien, she would help them find the way to change into what they wanted and needed to be. Thanks again for watching. This is Jay with TheraArts. Check out TheraArts.com and also check out Psychico.com to support the channel. And hope you guys are doing well. Have a great day. See you next time.